Hi, this is Mike Brown, owner of Death Wish Coffee Company. Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast.
I love Jeff, but sweet and hot. Whoop, Mr. Motorama coffee and spot.
Death Wish Coffee presents Fueled by Deathcast, the world's strongest podcast. With your hosts, the incredible Jeff and the amazing D-Man.
It's happening.
It's real.
It's real. First episode. Welcome, all of you listeners, to Fueled by Deathcast. I am the incredible Jeff.
And I am the amazing D-Man.
And together we make Fueled by Deathcast. We're so excited to start this off. We've been talking about it for a while. You've probably heard it on the updates. But this is it. Welcome. It's very exciting. Please, everybody out there listening, you can interact with us by using the hashtag FueledByDeathcast. You can also share this with all your friends and family. We want to get a lot of listens. This first one will be appearing, obviously, on deathwishcoffee.com, but in the next couple weeks, it will be up on such sites like iTunes and Stitcher and all those other ones, and we'll let you know where and how you can find all that stuff when those appear on the internet.
And when they do, make sure to, get your votes in.
Yeah.
We know you guys like voting, and
it
got us to the Super Bowl. So let's get this podcast to the Super Bowl.
Totally, especially when we get on iTunes. It takes a couple weeks to get acclimated on iTunes when you submit something. So this episode and the subsequent episodes will be on iTunes in a couple weeks. But once it's up there, we definitely want your reviews. We definitely want you to give us some likes over there because we can get a lot of traction on a platform like iTunes.
And keep in mind, we're always watching the fan page thread. So let us know what you think, and we'll definitely see it there on the page. So let us know, man.
We're gonna have a lot of ways to interact with all of you listeners out there as this podcast grows, and as you're going to find out, we have a couple cool segments, and every week we're going to bring you a very, very cool guest, and we have a very, very cool one in store on this very inaugural podcast.
Man, we've got some serious talent lined up, and I think we're hitting it off just right. So I'm excited to bring this to the world and, give a voice to the company and give something for people to get a little bit pumped up with, a little bit motivational, a little bit inspired. So.
Yeah. So speaking of, let's kick it off with exactly what the theme of this entire podcast is all about.
What fuels you?
And that is true. What absolutely fuels you? What gets you out of the bed in the morning? What makes you do the awesome things that you do every day? And this week, one of the things that I think is a big fuel for a lot of people is the act of competition. Competing in things is it can be fun. It can, get your blood pumping. It can, win or lose, it can, you learn and you grow as a person by competing and being in competitions.
I don't know. Personally, I've always felt competition not to necessarily be fun until afterwards, until it's done. Even if you won or lost, it always makes something good to talk about, or maybe something good to reflect on. Because you learned something in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And, you brought it up earlier. Speaking of competitions, Death Wish Coffee Company itself was in a competition last year to win a Super Bowl commercial, and thankfully they came out right on top, and we had our beautiful Super Bowl commercial in Super Bowl 50. But D-Man, I know both you and I have done things in our lives that we have competed for. I want to talk about maybe a competition that you remember, or an instance where you were in a competition or something?
I remember quite a few.
Yeah.
Competition has always been a really nerve-wracking thing for me.
It can be.
In fact, whenever I line anything up to compete, it's always like, well, how did I do this? You just kind of dread it until it happens, and then you get out the other side and you feel refreshed and renewed and reborn. But mostly what I think about is recent competition in Jiu-Jitsu matches.
Oh, right.
And that's really whenever I set that up and I sign up for the tournament, and now it's like, shit, now I have to think about it for a couple months.
Right.
Hope I prepared right, hope I don't get my arm broken, hopefully I don't get choked out in front of my family and poop my pants.
And that's what's always fun, about a competition is, at least in my mind, it's all of the preparation that goes into it, and then the competition happens and it's over in the blink of an eye, depending on what you're competing in.
Yep.
I haven't done that much in the vein of competition in sports, but I've been in a lot of musical competitions. And when I was younger, I play the violin, and when I was younger, I would be in solo competitions, but I would also be in orchestra competitions, and they're two completely different things. The solo ones, I would prepare a piece or a number of pieces for months on end to then perform it by myself in front of, a panel of judges, and then compete against other children doing the same thing. But then the orchestra competitions were full orchestra, so I'm on a stage with 60 to 100 people all playing the same piece and then competing against other orchestras.
Oh, weird.
So it's like two different beasts.
Who are the judges for that? And how do they stay awake?
Well, it depends on the different competitions. We did... Like for the solo ones, a lot of it, there was a thing in New York called NYSMA. And
I remember that.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're local and national music teachers and composers.
So you're
and stuff.
up there on the stage by yourself,
by myself,
violin in hand.
Yep, playing a piece. A lot of times by memory. And
are you a sweater, Jeff?
Am I a sweater? Not necessarily. Although a lot of times on stage it is incredibly hot. I know you and I
different.
can.
That's attest that.
Yeah,
no,
but
I also sweat in hot rooms.
Yeah,
but
not being not necessarily from nerves.
What are the first signs to yourself that you've landed yourself in a very nerve-wracking situation?
Well, that's actually where I was going to go. I remember one competition. Where as a soloist, I had been preparing this piece the whole time. I had to play it from memory, and I got up there. I played the first 4 or 5 notes and forgot the whole rest of the song.
Oh no! What'd you do?
I had to stop. I was young. I pretty much broke down into tears.
Oh no! How old were you? I
29.
was 16.
No, I was 14. And
no.
It was nerve-wracking, and they basically let me go backstage.
So you cry when you get
Yes,
nervous.
I cry.
You sweat from your eyeballs.
Yes, I sweat from my eyeballs. But I got to go backstage and kind of reset. They let another person go and perform, and then they let me come back out, and I actually did it. I didn't do as well as I would have liked. I'm sure I lost points on that, but it was very nerve-wracking when something like that happens. But like I said, competition it taught me to be more prepared. It taught me to, in a situation like that, to deal with it. That was the first time I'd ever dealt with something like that.
You know what I find even after a competition that I don't do so well in, when I come back to that activity, I'm leagues better than I ever was.
Right.
That pressure really brings out a better you.
Right. Yeah, and that's what's cool. And
that's usually what keeps me going back is the proof.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go out in front of everybody and mess up.
No. But you want to win. You want to always win.
But when you do, you get better.
Yes.
You get a lot better.
Yep.
And that's what I'm fueled by, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what I'm fueled by too, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about that later on in the episode. But another fun segment that we're going to bring to you every week is a little thing we like to call
science.
I love
and,
Brock did such a good job on those,
I
man.
just gotta say, all of these little voiceovers that you're hearing are done by the incredible Brock Powell. He is the current voice of the Kool-Aid Man. You can find him at brockvox.com and also on all social media at brockvox. And he's done so many cool things, and he's in shows right now. I think he's in a show on the Disney Channel right now, and he's got some other stuff in the works, so we'll be hearing a lot more of him. But all this,
and eventually we'll have him here
as a guest,
as a death guest.
Yes, definitely. But anyway, we do like to talk about science. It's kind of like a palate cleanser. It's something to get your brain flowing, like your first cup of coffee in the morning. And this week I've got something really fun to bring. It's basically a small asteroid that has been discovered in orbit around the sun, but it's a constant companion of Earth, which means that even though it's orbiting the sun, it's orbiting Earth as it's orbiting the sun. And it has been by the data that they've collected for the last 100 years, and it should continue for hundreds of years to come.
How close is it?
It is... I'm looking that up. Now, you asked me these questions, and I should have the answer.
Is it in a different
It's in a slightly
Orbit?
different orbit, and it is called 2016 HO3, and
Original.
It's basically a quasi satellite. Like, there's tons of stuff orbiting the Earth, space junk and satellites and the International Space Station. I mean, we have tons and tons of stuff, and obviously the moon. This is much smaller than the moon. It is 38 times the distance of the moon from Earth.
It's not that far, though.
Right. It's only about 300 feet in diameter. So it's really small. We're not going to send...
Just a big old rock
We're not
going to
send Neil Armstrong up there to go walk on it. But
I hope not.
I hope not. But it is pretty cool that they've finally confirmed that it is an actual quasi-satellite of Earth, and we technically can, say that we have a second moon, sort of. Not
I wonder
really,
if there's
but
any, precious metals on it or anything.
they are going to start looking into it more now that we've known about it. We know everything that's in our solar system, especially orbiting and stuff, but we're just starting with the technology we have to learn a lot more about the orbits and what things are. Like, one of the theories out there, I'm sure you've heard of this, D-Man, is the ninth planet, Planet X. The theory is that beyond Neptune, there is this gravitational kind of wave that we're getting that can only come from a celestial body. And astronomers have been thinking about this for over 100 years, and when they discovered Pluto in the 70s, they were like, oh, it must be Pluto. But it's not, because those gravitational waves are still being around there. So the theory is there is this mystery planet,
Nibiru.
right, that is in our solar system that has an orbit of 15,000 years. So it goes around the sun once every 15,000 years. So we have to scan the sky looking for this, and we still haven't found it. But I mean, that's
so
the theory
weird.
and that's what's neat is like we know stuff about our solar system, but we still are making strides to actually confirm things about our solar system. Like,
Yeah.
we known about this asteroid, but now we have confirmed that it is actually kind of doing this spatial dance with Earth as both are going around the sun. So it's kind of like our little buddy in space, which is kind of neat.
Weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
You get talking about planets and stuff, I get all worked up.
Yeah,
As
it's
soon as you
fun.
talk about that weird-ass planet just, like, coming around every now and then.
Yeah.
Full of the Anunnaki people
There it
waiting
is.
to breed us with apes so we can mine gold for them,
Yeah. But like I
Get
said,
that tin hat on, buddy.
like I said, science is always fun, and it's a good way to get your brain flowing, and good start of our podcast when we do that.
I'm worked up now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
So let's talk a little bit Death Wish. Recently, we just got through the incredible Black Friday craziness.
Holy
Small
crapola.
Business
That was
Saturday,
nuts,
Cyber
man.
Monday, all that stuff. And I know you are tied directly to production and all that stuff, D-Man. So how did it go? How did Death Wish fare on that biggest shopping weekend of the year, pretty much?
First of all, the first day was on Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yes.
Before Black Friday, we released the Christmas tanker.
Yes,
And
the Yeti.
We broke records, man.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was incredible, and the support of this company from our fans is just amazing. So I'm really happy to see everybody's pictures of them getting their Yeti mugs.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see them all go out. I think we made enough to where people were satisfied. Everybody who wanted one got one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really happy about that.
In fact, I just saw, I believe it was on the internet today or yesterday, somebody posted they got the final one. They got the 5,000 out of 5,000.
Really?
Yeah, they posted it. I was like, that's pretty rad to get that number.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations to that person.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So on Friday, we gave away a special edition blackout bag with every single order. And the idea is that, it's the given season. So now you'll be able to have this cool little bag either for yourself or if you want to share it with somebody else to get them into the company.
Right.
And also it's still for sale, but it probably won't be for long. We had a few leftovers, so we decided to sell it for a very reasonable price for $20 for 3 of them, or I should say $19.99.
There you go. This is America. We deal in pennies over here.
What's up with that?
Yeah, it's so silly.
Maybe that should make it to the roast. That makes me angry.
Yeah.
Who are you fooling?
Yeah, right?
Well, we do it, I guess. So.
Yeah.
And then on Small Business Saturday, we released the hat and scarf set.
Hat and scarf set, yeah.
Which they're great, man.
They really are. We here at Death Wish Coffee do apologize to all of you who live in beautiful weather that do not need a hat and scarf set.
I don't apologize to those people. I do not. Find a cold building.
Turn the air conditioning up really high and put on that hat and scarf set.
And then you'll look cool. We're good.
Yeah.
So the hat and scarf set went well, and it's still available. And we're really happy to release that for the winter season, keep everybody warm.
Awesome.
Sunday, we got a little bit of break on stay at home, no shop
Stop
Sunday.
shopping Sunday.
So it was kind of a break from all the madness. And then Monday, we started giving away the socks with every order.
Yeah.
Which I love the socks. So I can't wait to see pictures of everybody kicking around in those, pun intended.
Yes.
And then, on Thursday we released the cycling jersey,
Yes.
which went so well.
That's great. That's great.
There's still a few of those left. There might still be when you are listening to this, but man, the numbers have been through the roof. The support has been through the roof. It has been a complete success this holiday season, and I'm really happy to have a really strong team around me and around us. To get us through this holiday season.
Yeah.
And I'd like to give a big shout out to our customer support.
Yes.
They have
Props
been
to them.
working to the bone. And keep in mind, everybody, there is 2 people here who handle all of the customer service.
Yes.
And they're very personable, and they will remember since last time you got they're on the ball, man.
Yeah.
And really happy they're here to guide everybody through their holiday sales.
Yeah, thank the gods of Valhalla for our awesome customer service team, because without them, we would be in deep water, I think.
And they seriously,
Totally.
they do such a good job. I hear them all day on the phone, just so patient and just even still just so happy to help everybody out. And they're just those kinds of people. So big shout out to CT and Sierra.
Yeah.
We love you guys, and I'm really glad that you guys have everybody's backs here. And
Totally.
Props to you guys. Big time.
Totally. And as always, everybody here at Death Wish Coffee is excited for the holidays, and we're excited that we're doing so well with everything, because a lot of these are great gifts for all of you guys out there, including the subscriptions. And the greatest gift of all could be sharing this wonderful podcast with your family and friends. And speaking of podcast,
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
I was so happy to hit those buttons, man.
That's so good. That is something we're going to do every single podcast. We are going to give you a secret code that will unlock a discount of death. And this week only, if you type in podcast at checkout, you will unlock that secret code.
We haven't figured out what we're going to give you guys yet, but we'll figure out something special. And,
and it's going to change every week.
It'll be a mystery.
Yep, it's going to change every week, and it'll be hidden somewhere within every podcast. So you got to listen to the whole thing. And something that we want to bring up every week is this is called Fueled by Deathcast. And the thought behind that isn't just the company, but it's also that death is what fuels everyone. Everyone wants to do as much as they can in life and, touch as much as they can in this life before death comes for everybody. And we want to remember a couple people that we lose each week and the great accomplishments that they have brought onto the world.
The Death Wish Death List.
All right. And this week, we lost actress Alice Drummond. She was 88 years old. You probably remember her as the librarian from Ghostbusters or the wonderfully quirky mother from Ace Ventura, the one who baked the little football cookies for Ace Ventura.
Laces out.
Laces out. Yeah, that's her.
I know who she is now.
Her filmography is huge. She started out in 1970 as a basically a walk-on role in a movie called Where's Papa? But like I said, she was in Ghostbusters. She was in The Honeymooners. She was in a ton of television, including Night Court. and the Days and Nights of Molly Dodd and Boston Legal. She had a very prolific career, and she died this week at 88. Another actor that we lost this week was Ron Glass. Now, any of you more nerdy people out there might remember Ron Glass from the cult show Firefly, but he also worked very hard in his career, had a huge career of film and television, and he also did some stage work as well.
Any behind the scenes stuff I watched for Firefly, because I was a
big fan.
pretty big fan of Firefly, and I loved Ron Glass's character in it. But any behind the scenes stuff looked like that man was so full of life, so full of personality.
Totally.
Really just seemed like a cheerful, happy, fun-loving guy.
Yeah, he
I'm
played.
Sad to see him go, man.
He played Shepherd Book on that show.
Just kind of like
which
this
was awesome.
wise, really
Yeah.
nice guy, but
Yeah.
just trying to keep his moral standards with this like secret past you don't really know about. His character was really grade A, man, and I mean I'm sure his personality matched that character because he was a grade A person, man.
Yeah, he got his start in television. He actually was on some of the most famous shows in the 70s, including Sanford and Son, All in the Family, and Good Times, until he landed his first big role as Detective Ron Harris in the Barney Miller television show, which ran until 82. And like I said, he had a huge, huge career, and we lost him this week. Finally, we lost Mickey Fitz, who is the singer of The Business. And for punk fans out there, they are an English oi band, one of those the real English punk bands, the bands that punk bands today sing about. And they formed in 1979. They influenced a lot of different people. They worked very closely with bands like Rancid and Dropkick Murphys, and he unfortunately died from cancer just this week. And it's sad to see him go. But on a happier note, we also want to death wish you a happy birthday to a couple celebs that are coming up this week. And that includes the dude himself, Jeff Bridges. He's going to be 66 on December 4th.
What a legend.
And his co-star in The Big Lebowski, Julianne Moore, is going to
Also a legend. Also,
Yep.
I didn't know she was so awesome on stage.
She's
She is
incredible.
a rock star.
She's incredible.
so much fun to watch her at Riot Fest. man.
Yeah. And, oh, no, you're getting your Juliet. You're getting
Oh,
your
no.
Yes, that's Juliette Lewis.
Oh,
You are
no.
getting your Julianne and your Juliet mixed up.
I've been caught.
You've been caught. It's okay, though. And finally, we wish a happy birthday to the biggest rap entrepreneur out there right now, Jay-Z. He's going to be 46 on December 4th. And that kind of ties us into this fun little thing, because Dustin and I love music, we love podcasts, and we want to ask each other each week.
What you listening to?
So yeah, D-Man, what are you listening to this week?
It's pretty much what I've been listening to for the last 6 years of my life.
Uh-huh.
I'm a huge fan of the Joe Rogan podcast, probably the reason why I'm podcasting today, but I always felt that it was just highly entertaining, highly candid program.
Yeah.
And it sucked me in since the beginning of time, and right now I'm listening to like 3 simultaneously.
That's very crazy. How do you understand what he's saying if you're listening to him
Well,
simultaneously?
I mean, it's simultaneously as in when I'm at my computer, I've got the Steve Ranello one running. When I'm in my car, I'm listening to John Jones.
Yep.
And then, at home, I'm listening to another one.
That's awesome.
So I'm like kind of cycling through the 3, but he's been really nailing down the guests lately, getting some really big names. He's just like one of the biggest guys out there in the podcast world.
He really is. And it's funny because just a couple years ago, podcasting, it was such this uncharted territory. Nobody really knew what it was. And now you have these big stars that are doing very well with their own shows. And it's funny you say that Joe Rogan got you into podcasting. You are the reason I'm into podcasting, D-Man, because for the longest time you were listening to podcasts and I hadn't even tried them. And you were like, you should check out these podcasts. And not only do I love podcasts, but I also like making podcasts now, so it's full circle. So this week, what I'm listening to is also a podcast that I've been listening to for a while, and that's Star Talk. if you didn't catch in the beginning how much I like to talk about science, I like to listen about science too. And Star Talk is Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast.
I love that man.
Yeah, he's great, and it's very short. It's usually about a half-hour podcast, and he doesn't do it every week, but it's always.
I wish that man was our president.
Yeah, I know.
He'd be so cool.
Yeah, he's definitely fun to listen to, and when he's talking about space and all sorts of cool things that he knows about, and I really enjoy that podcast a lot.
You know, I haven't listened to that myself. I got to give that a run.
Yeah, it's good.
Really cool. I really
very
like
good.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
And another segment we're going to try out on you guys is our weekly roast segment. We figure, this is the Death Wish Coffee Company podcast here. And what's better than a weekly roast where D-Man and myself are going to roast something that we find a little bit, I don't know, roast-worthy, I guess.
What's with this 99-cent mark?
Yeah.
Who are they fooling?
Yeah.
Can I flip out about this now? I'm so angry.
But
I'm not that dumb, Jeff.
But this week, our weekly roast is going to be a movie roast. We just found out about this.
I feel like more often than not, it might end up being a movie roast because, I mean, these are the people with all the money doing the dumbest things.
The dumbest things.
My
We
God.
just found out about this before we started recording this podcast. And so on our movie roast this week, we have to bring up the live-action Barbie movie. Now, I understand, I want to preface this, I understand that there are movies made for everybody out there, and, I'm not necessarily roasting this because it is the property of Barbie. I'm roasting it, I'm bringing this up because, first of all, they're making a live-action Barbie. Second of all, as the main actress of this has now been announced as Amy Schumer. And I think she's a funny lady, but I don't know if she can carry a movie, and I definitely don't think that that's a good fit unless this is going to be an R-rated Barbie movie, which it shouldn't be because then you're not giving it to the people who...
Dude, if it were an R-rated Barbie movie, come on, that's pretty creative.
So here's the tagline for this movie, and this is going to... I want Dustin hasn't heard this yet, so I'm very curious to hear your reaction. Amy Schumer will play a character that lives within Barbie Land. Barbie Land houses all of the various Barbie characters that have been introduced in the long-running toy line. But Schumer will be a Barbie who doesn't quite fit into the idealistic world of her home. She's not perfect, she's loud, and she doesn't behave the way Barbie should. Schumer's character will eventually go on an adventure in the real world before attempting to return and save her home. And while it's a bit similar to Enchanted in its premise, Barbie will teach both Amy Schumer's character as well as the audience that what is within really matters and that we should all accept our imperfections.
I hate you, Jeff.
I didn't write it, dude. But I mean, I think they're already so far off topic because Barbie is about perfection. When you really bring it down to it, it's this blonde-haired, perfect, quote unquote, little girl, that can be whatever she wants because as long as you have the money to buy all her accessories and her dream house and her car.
God, dude.
But yeah, it just seems like why waste your money, Hollywood, on an idea
I have
like
anxiety.
I'm sure obviously this is going to be completely funded by Mattel, but I mean, why? It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't, and I felt like it needed to be roasted.
Just they were like, I can't even light into it. I'm so upset, and just the direction with Amy Schumer.
Did you see Trainwreck?
That throws me off. Yeah, I watched.
It wasn't as funny as I wanted it to be. I mean,
you wanted it. I mean, you expected it to be funny.
I did. I thought that she could.
Okay, so maybe it's me. I don't like Amy Schumer that much. So, I mean, that's biased to begin with. But now I'm seeing this kind of hacky shit,
right,
and birthed into the world, and now our kids have to watch her shitty acting, and her shitty jokes.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have kids, man.
Yeah. Well, it is going to be a PG movie, and it is slated for next year. So, yay for the Barbie movie. But on a better note, we're going to take a break and give you guys this week's D-Man Death Wish update, and we will return to the show after that.
D-Man's Death Wish Update, brought to you by Death Wish Coffee.
All right, welcome everybody to this week's update. I am the Incredible Jeff.
And I am DMAN.
Yes, you are. So if you're listening to this right now on Thursday, something's got to be available, D-Man.
Hot toddy.
Hot toddy.
Hot toddy is
that's
available.
good. Apple
Delicious
and
8-ounce bag
cinnamon.
of delicious hot toddy coffee that we took our barrel brand coffee and we mixed it with apple and cinnamon to come out with this amazing seasonal blend, and I can't wait to get it in your cup.
Yep, it is a limited quantity because it is that barrel brand again, so jump on that today, and it'll make not only delicious coffee for this season, but also a great gift.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to go really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not buying it right now, as you're listening to me say
Buy
buying
it right now, yes.
You might miss it. We probably made, we're under 4,000 units. So.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are aging this in whiskey and rum
it's
barrels
not
and stuff
easy,
like that.
man.
It's not easy.
And
That's why it's such a cool product.
Yeah, it's very artisanal.
Very artisanal. Speaking of products, I know 2017 is right around the corner, and there's got to be some...
It's just like getting a car, Jeff.
Yeah.
You get close to the end of the year and you can buy the next year's model.
Yep.
Well, we're going to be doing that with a couple mugs.
I know, and I'm holding one in my hand right now. It's pretty cool.
It's real.
Yes.
They made it. It's here, and it's our beautiful black and red colors.
Yes.
And it's in the style of the Pepin mug, which the Day of the Dead mug was
Correct.
designed with that flared top.
Yep.
Which I like because the AeroPress fits over the top nicely.
And it is the official 2017 Death Wish Coffee Company mug, and I'm pretty sure that pictures of it have already been online from Deneen Pottery and also the awesome folks over at the official Death Wish Coffee Company fan page.
And if you notice, under the mug, there's a new stamp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Careful, don't.
Yeah, don't tip it.
It's full of
It's
coffee.
full of coffee. Oh, look at that.
I tricked you.
Look at that new stamp. That's great. Fueled by Death.
Hashtag fueled by death.
Just like hashtag Fueled by Deathcast. Maybe someday we'll have our own mug. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, man.
Yeah. This podcast has got to get off the ground first. But yeah, down the road, that'd be a lot of fun. And speaking of January, is there anything, D-Man, that you can tell us that is groundbreaking that's coming up?
So we're holding off on a lot of things because it's the end of the year, and we're trying to keep up with all the holiday sales. So we wanted to get this out sooner, but it's going to come out at the beginning of the year, 100% for sure. We're going to see the survival kit come back.
Awesome. The survival kit. That is such a cool product. I love mine.
Yeah, we didn't release that many. I think we only did probably like 1,500, if that. It probably was closer to 12. But now we have a bunch, and we will be selling it for a decent amount of time. And I can't wait to release that again.
That's so cool. And if you guys haven't seen it, if you're new to the company, it comes in a beautiful lunchbox kind of tin with the survival kit logo on there, and 2 cups inside with a small bag of coffee and a reusable, washable filter.
Yeah, a couple packs of
and
matches.
And a couple packs of matches.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, anybody who is not in America can't get one, correct? Because of the matches?
Well, the fact is it cannot touch the air.
Right.
So it is ground shipping only.
Right.
I don't know if there's any boats going over to the UK to bring you a survival kit. But,
right.
If you do get it, it will take a little while.
Yeah, because it cannot touch the
It's
air.
a little tricky.
Yep, that's because of the matches. But again, it's everything you need to wake up in your tent in the wilderness and brew that perfect cup of Death Wish coffee.
I think I even saw dual survivalists and also naked survivalists. EJ Snyder used one.
Yes, I saw that too. He's
that
really
guy.
Cool.
That guy's crazy.
Yeah,
you got to
like
hang
him
out
a
with
lot.
him at
New York
Comic-Con.
Comic-Con,
And
yeah.
I think if it hasn't been released yet, there will be a interview coming out that Alyssa from Death Wish did with EJ.
Nice.
So
he's a fun dude.
Yeah, he's definitely one of us. So you'll be hearing a lot more from his camp. You'll be hearing a lot more from our camp with the podcast. And we'll be able to interview people like EJ and Joe Blasco, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit, man.
And we'll have a lot more to talk to you all about next week.
Cheers, everybody.
We now return to Fueled by Deathcast.
All right, everybody. Being the first ever episode of Fueled by Deathcast, we have a pretty special guest as our first ever Fueled by Death guest.
Yeah, I'm really excited that Mr. Eddie Fyvie, my jiu-jitsu professor himself, decided to join us here at Death Wish HQ to do a quick little interview. And I mean, this guy has brought so much to this community as far as bringing legends to the area to train, but he also he ran and organized the largest Brazilian jiu-jitsu seminar ever in the world. This man has trained with all the legends. He has competed to the top. And now that UFC is in town, he's been housing some of the biggest names in MMA to come train at his school and to even come by, teach seminars to his students. So,
and he's an incredibly inspirational dude, and we really hope you all dig this cool conversation we have.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of news about a revolutionary jiu-jitsu tournament that I'm really excited that
we're breaking right here.
Yeah,
so.
that'll be coming in 2017. But just an all-around really mellow, really cool guy, and I was so proud and happy to have him on as a guest. So I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we did.
And here we go.
The Fueled by Death guest.
Oh man. So Dustin was telling me that you just came from training, right?
Yeah, well, a little while ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Earlier today.
And that's for the event that's happening around this area, right?
Yeah, the UFC's in Albany on Friday, and then. So today, guys are cutting weight and training and just doing some last-minute stuff. So one of the guys fighting is a guy from New Jersey, Frankie Perez, and he trains with my instructor, Ricardo Almeida. He trains with him. So he's up here fighting, and he needed some practice partners. So just went down and rolled around with him a little bit. So he's looking good.
What weight does he fight at?
155.
So he's like he trains with probably Frankie Edgar all the time.
Frankie Edgar. Frankie Perez is like the perfect sparring partner. So because he's a good wrestler, he's a good stand-up, he can fight lefty, righty. So he's the guy who everybody spars with. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
He's a good mimicker.
Not really a good thing because he's got to spar year round because he mimics, like for Eddie Alvarez, he was Conor McGregor, for you name it. So guys are constantly using him, but
that's cool though. That's a good gig.
That is really cool, and it's cool that you get to be, like when something because now that MMA and UFC is like much more accepted in New York, like we're getting more of it in this Albany area and stuff like that, and you get to help these guys out and spar with them and train with them and that kind of stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's accepted in a way where everybody knows what the sport is, but the legalization of it, excuse me, has been a kind of a misconception. It's legal, but you're not going to see many events locally.
I heard there was a lot of recent controversy about insurance.
Yeah, it's
right?
a nightmare.
Which is a complete nightmare. Like I heard, now correct me if I'm wrong, that it's like you need like almost like $100,000 insurance on each fighter just to make that happen
up front, out of pocket.
That's pretty nuts.
That's corrupt.
Yeah,
and they're talking about $1 million per fighter that goes to the brain injury fund.
I don't hate that though.
So think about this.
$1 million though.
Don't hate this. Okay, so first off, there's not a single MMA fighter on the brain injury fund except for Gary Goodrich. There's one. It's all NFL players.
Right.
But so $1 million per fighter you have to pay up front
for a fund that really doesn't help out the fighters.
You have an event with 8 fighters, 4 fights, $8 million.
Wow. Whoa. And they're not making that at that fight.
No. Well,
not even.
I mean,
some
the
UFC,
the UFC will pull that money in. But
if you're the Conor McGregors of the world, maybe, but yeah.
Sure, but it's. I mean, I may be a little bit wrong with that, but that was the understanding that I had because I had full plans to put on an event myself.
Yeah.
When it became quote unquote legal, but I threw that idea out.
So, Eddie, speaking on that, like you also compete, right? Like
I did.
You do you still compete, or you did compete?
Not really. I did professional MMA for a long time. I competed in jiu-jitsu since I was a little kid, but I retired a couple years ago.
How do you feel about competition? Is it something that you did in the genre, that you're in because it was there, or did you like to compete? Like, Did it kind of fuel you to be better, kind of thing?
Yeah, I think when I started doing jiu-jitsu, it was pretty new. It wasn't a popular. It was kind of, people knew what it was a little bit, but there was no MMA when I started. It was no holds barred, like ultimate fighting, bare knuckle. This is in the 90s. So when I started, the idea of competing wasn't really a thought at that time.
Uh-huh.
One day I had hoped to be in the UFC representing jiu-jitsu. I don't know why. I was just kind of driven to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I played sports as a kid a lot. So naturally, anytime I did something athletic, the end goal for me was always, okay, well, when do we play? When do we do it? So it was kind of a natural thing for me to do.
Very cool. Speaking on that a little bit, like what fueled you to get into jiu-jitsu, to actually learn it and get as far as you have with it,
and then start your own school.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, it was kind of a personal thing that I had to do. I lived in a really bad neighborhood, and it was tough growing up. Having to look over your shoulder every 2 seconds and worrying about what's going on or what's going to happen to you. So I was always searching for something to help me. Mm-hmm. And I boxed, I wrestled, I did a lot of stuff, but it never really helped me too much. And then when I saw jiu-jitsu, I was like, well, that's the answer, because I was a smaller kid, and I was actually the minority in my neighborhood. So
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Schenectady, Mount Pleasant area.
Oh, okay.
So it was tough, but it was a blessing, I guess, because it kind of forced me into this position that I'm in now, which is great. But I did it in the beginning just for sheer survival purposes. I can remember being 10, 11 years old and asking questions at class like, what if a 250-pound guy attacked me? And they would laugh at me. But I was actually serious.
Yeah.
I was actually like, no, I'm serious.
Is that when you started, when you were 10?
Turning 11, around that age. So, so I started kind of because I needed to. I was like, I was searching for something. I was doing, you name it, I was doing it. So when I saw jiu-jitsu, I saw the Gracies, and they were from Brazil. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to move to Brazil because that's where it is. But, some guys were training locally, so I jumped in.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now you're directly connected to the Gracies.
Yeah. It's great.
And your school is a Gracie school.
Yeah, I got my black belt to Ricardo Almeida, who's he coaches a who's who of UFC fighters, Eddie Alvarez, Frankie Edgar, so he's a black belt under Renzo Gracie. And then over the years, I've been able to make so many contacts, Rickson Gracie, Renzo Gracie, so Hoist.
Speaking of Rickson Gracie,
I just ignored his phone call actually in the parking lot. So you're welcome.
Man, I feel like a legend right now.
I feel terrible.
But you put on the biggest jiu-jitsu seminar ever with Rickson Gracie here in the Northeast, which is revolutionary for this area.
Yeah.
How was that, putting those pieces together, and did you expect it to be as big as it was?
Well, yes, I did. I always think big whenever I do something like that, but or in general. But when I started putting it on, I tried to set up a seminar with Rickson, who's like the god of jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. For a long time, a couple of years, and I couldn't get him to budge on doing a seminar. So I actually emailed him for almost every day for about 2 months straight, like 60 days. And he finally called me, actually, on my phone, which I was totally shocked. And he called me and said, I'm not doing any seminars ever, but, I'd like to invite you out to California. So I was like, well, that's great. So I went to California to train. I kept that up for about a year with the goal of eventually bringing him out here, because I knew it would be very impactful for the area. Mm-hmm. And finally he went for it. So
what do you think tipped the scale as far as him reaching back out to you?
Well, annoyance.
60 days. 60 days of getting a hold of him. Yeah.
Gotta stop this.
Restraining order.
Stop this.
Stalking. No, he just every time I would email him, I'd try to touch on something that I knew would be closely something he enjoyed. It wasn't just badgering, come here. It was different things. And when I talked to him, I think he could tell that I was very genuine. I didn't want to bring him out here to to eat. I had no intention to make money. I didn't do that. I knew it would be a big thing for jiu-jitsu. He's never been here, so, and I knew it would inspire people. And I wanted to do the biggest seminar ever. So, and I don't know if he even believed we could do it. He kind of was like, yes, I'll do it. And, we'll do, how many people you think? I said, well, how many people do you want to have? And he's like, well, how much space do you have? I go, I can get as much space as you want. And he goes, well, we need this much space for 100 people. So we just kept going back and forth. And he said, how about 300 people? We'll cut it off. I said, okay. So it sold out in 2 hours, 300 people. I called him back and he was like, it's sold out. Totally sold out. I go, totally sold out, 2 hours.
And you had people from everywhere.
Yeah,
coming
20,
to this.
20 plus states.
Well, like you said, he's the god of jiu-jitsu, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're traveling to go do
I
this.
was there,
You were
and
there.
when he came out, it reminded me of like a biblical moment, like Jesus coming out, and everybody got real quiet and kind of
everyone
like
was silent.
parted and like
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm cool. I'm just gonna hang out on my yoga ball and get my stretches in, and nobody knew what to do. Everybody was really
it's
quiet.
awkward, right?
Probably the only jiu-jitsu seminar with a stage, by the way. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah,
but
we had
that
a
worked
stage
out
in the
really
middle.
great.
It
You
was
had that really
perfect.
well planned.
It was perfect. It was like a couple days before the seminar. Leading up to it, I was like, this is great. I'm actually pretty good at setting up events like this. And then a couple days before, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. And now I find myself, it's like all I'm doing. But we had a stage that worked out perfect. But he has, you're talking about the real greatest martial artist ever.
Yeah.
People don't understand this.
Ever
Like,
to live, ever, period.
The samurai, the guy, he's the greatest ever. So it's when you're in the martial arts world and you hear the stories about him and you hear people talk about him, then you actually see him.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, my God, that's the guy.
That's
the
the man who's
the real
destroyed
deal.
every other man who's ever attempted to destroy him.
Yeah, it's just crazy, and he really is that. It's amazing. The more I'm around him, the more I see it and feel it. Not just on a physical level, but he is unique. It's like a Buddha.
Wow.
It really
Yeah.
is. I can't explain it. You
That's
could
very
sense
inspirational.
it. You could really sense it too. I mean, you were there. And you saw him. You feel it.
Yeah.
People joke about it. They say Hickson's aura. That's a big joke.
Uh-huh.
It's a real thing. And I'm not, I'm not into anything like that, but he's different. He's a different human being, one of a kind.
That's so cool.
I think just once you've lived anywhere close to the experiences that he has gone through, it's how could you not sense something?
Yeah.
That, not to get any woo-woo or any craziness
Right.
like that. I mean, that man has been through so much amazing feats.
You're talking about somebody who fought for real for probably 20 years straight, almost every day.
Wow.
Just not in, prize fights, but for jiu-jitsu in Brazil to prove it, to test it, to challenge. So when you're somebody who's went through that,
Even anybody who's talked shit about him, he finds him on the beach and slaps him.
Oh my God.
It's on now.
Oh my God.
that's
it's
this
just
guy.
that's the thing. So imagine living your life like that. What you become from that,
Yeah.
you become a superhuman. To be able to go that long,
Yeah.
it's crazy. But so it was wild.
That's cool, but you get opportunities like that, like you said. Now, even more so with the Eddie Fyvie Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and being able to do that. You've got other events that you've done since then, even though that's the biggest one. Are there ones that are even coming up that you can talk about, or?
Yeah. Hopefully next year we're going to be doing a tournament on the East Coast, a Hickson Gracie Cup.
Really?
Yeah, which is going to be a big tournament.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, so it's really, really in preliminary stages. There's still a lot of time to tell what's going to happen with that, but
You heard it here first, everybody.
I'm excited. So
Yeah.
what is the thing that will set this tournament apart from other jiu-jitsu tournaments?
it's going to be, one, the organization that I plan on having, in terms of how organized it is. We're going to be really making sure the competitors, really understand the division they're in, when they're going to be going, and just simple stuff that falls apart at tournaments where people are waiting for you to
The Naga tournaments are a mess. I mean,
it's just tough. I love Naga, but it's just like, there's got to be something done where competitors have a better experience. They show up, you sit around for 5 hours.
It sounds pretty unorganized.
It's very tough. So we're going to really try to organize it. We've got a couple things we're going to be adding that will really give more people the opportunity to compete that maybe don't want to compete in a real physical, rough setting, which we'll get into more in the next couple months. Really the professionalism and organization, which there's a lot of professional, great tournaments out there. But we have some things we're going to be adding with software to make it so that the competitors have a very unique, friendly experience. So we'll see what happens.
Like actual technology you're talking about?
Yeah,
like,
we have some stuff that we're going to use where, like you'll get a text message on your phone that your division is up in 15 minutes. And it's going to be a silent tournament. So you can be there. There's going to be no announcer. You can look on a scoreboard and say, it says, this division's up 10 minutes, and you get a text on your phone saying your match is going to be up soon. So it's going to be run like that, very, very smooth, a lot of systems in place.
Wow, that's really cool.
Like an e-tournament.
Yeah.
E-tournament, yeah. Like
but it's not
robots
so invasive where it's the announcer constantly yelling in your ear.
And like you're constantly listening.
And you have your headphones on. You're sitting,
you're trying to be in your zone and everything else.
That is the one thing about like, competing in Naga was always like very nerve-wracking as far as trying to keep track of. Like, you'd always do a buddy system, like, hey, can you watch the mat for me and let me know when they call you up? And then your buddy's running over to you, you're up, dude, you're up. And you're, like, freaking out. You go up, and then you got to fight this dude. And it can be a little bit, it can shake you up pretty good.
The thing I always hated about the tournaments is the chaos. You have two people that are going out there to try to compete in a very, very intense setting, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's chaos all around you. There's 9 matches going on at the same time. There's an announcer screaming. There's another guy walking around telling people to sit down.
Smells like hot dogs.
Smells like hot dogs. So it's, I don't know if exactly like hot dogs, but no, but it's disgusting. But so it's just chaotic and you can't concentrate. So I really want to have an experience where people could focus and there's not going to be all this chaos. There's matches going on, of course, but there's not people screaming and yelling and things like that. So
that's really
we'll see.
Well, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that next year. I really hope that all works out for you.
Well, we'll definitely have you back on before
totally.
before that kicks off, and who knows, maybe we'll do a live recording at the event.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Speaking of, you had said that you used to compete too, but you've retired from that. What was the turning point for you from being the student to wanting to be the teacher?
In jiu-jitsu, it's funny. It's like you're always kind of teaching in a way because as you get better, you're always sharing information with people, helping people. So I always knew that was going to be a natural progression from fighting. I didn't want to do anything else. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. So I knew I was going to teach eventually. So I just I think I was always preparing myself without realizing it. But as I started to teach more, I started to get a lot more. I was a lot happier teaching than I was competing, I found. So it just kind of started to draw. I was drawn to teaching a lot more.
That's excellent. I mean, that's, exactly why there should be more teachers in the world,
Yeah.
And I mean, and I love the tenements of your academy for the community, for everyone, and for you, I mean, like that really is a welcoming environment for anything in any field. That's the way that it should be. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you've done a lot to bring not only jiu-jitsu to this community, but mixed martial arts, not only with your school, but with some of the fighters that you've had in, Nick Diaz, to name one of them. But we've had Ben Askren was in,
Ben
right?
Askren.
Yeah, just like all the top guys to this tiny little Saratoga town. How focused are you on growing the community with your jiu-jitsu?
That's my 100% goal, is to embed it. I tell people I want to embed it into the culture. So I want to have it so where if people think about Saratoga, they think about jiu-jitsu. They think about Malta. Obviously not as a whole, but you could think about certain areas around the country and you can kind of associate them with something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how powerful jiu-jitsu is, so that's what I want to do with the martial art. And if I don't with the culture, I want to do it at least where if people talk about martial arts, it's jiu-jitsu. It's not anything else, which it really, not that it shouldn't be, but it is so powerful and so real. But bringing guys like that in, I look at it like this. The only way you're going to create a high-level atmosphere is if you bring high-level people in. And by bringing people in like Nick Diaz, like Ben Askren, it inspires people. When you're in the same room as him, he was Nick Diaz's practice partner the whole time. Dustin was.
Yeah, actually, I remember seeing those photos. It was pretty
I'm
great.
like, this guy is going to make out so well on the photography side of this because in every photo. But
he liked me. I think he could tell I wasn't off-put by the smell of the blunt on his hands.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a different subject. But it's just I just feel like bringing. The thing is, like most instructors, when they think about seminars, like I've talked to instructors before. I go, hey, you should bring this guy in. He's going to be in town. They go, well, how much does it cost? And they start thinking about how much money they're going to make. And I've lost so much money doing these seminars. Not so much anymore, but I've lost so much money. It's ridiculous. I'm surprised our school's not shut down. But I've lost a lot of money doing these seminars. But what it's done, it's made this area seem like the place to go to. You have like Hickson, when he thinks of New York, he thinks of Saratoga.
Yeah.
Nick Diaz thinks of New York, he thinks of Saratoga. Ben Askren Ben Askren called me this week to ask about having a guy come to the gym to train. And it's like, these guys could go anywhere, but by bringing these guys in, it's going to make this area high level and start to hopefully create some type of a hotbed, at some point. Who knows?
Nick seemed like he had a really good time, actually.
He did, yeah.
He started off a little like, I don't know what this is going to be. I'm in this beatnik town. But when he left, he took his time. He signed all the pictures. He took all the pictures.
Really
he signed
cool.
all the posters. And when he left with a smile on his face. And you could tell, when these guys come here, they're in for an authentic jiu-jitsu experience. And they get to bring that to the table to practitioners who are also authentic. And like right away, when he was using me as a training partner, he was like, "Oh, all right, we're better than the last seminar because probably the last seminar was some beatnik school who was trying to make money off of kids. Who knows? But when they come here, they know it's the real deal, and you bring the real deal here, man."
Well, I told him too. I do everything for the art and for the sport, the art, whatever you want to call it. I don't do it, the money and the things like that and the financial things and the business side of things, that naturally comes with it. But I really do it for the art, and I think that comes through. I think it really, for instance, one of the places he went to previously to our school was the complete opposite. He was there for one reason. And you could feel it, that the people want them for a personal gain or something like that. But I really want to bring these guys in for the benefit of myself and everybody else. It's so positive, and we set that up on 12 hours notice, so that was kind of a crazy ordeal that day. So,
nuts.
I think they appreciate it when they get there that it's for the jiu-jitsu. It's not for anything else.
So outside of Brazil, obviously, where are some of the hubs of jiu-jitsu now in the world?
Here.
Here, it really is becoming in this area.
America. I mean, U.S. It's huge. Some of the best guys are here too now.
Most
of the Brazilians are here.
The Gracies came here. They spread and conquer. You have Henzo on the East Coast, Hickson on the West Coast. They divided and conquered for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. So America's definitely really it's been catching up. Most of the Brazilians are here now too. So,
but it's still big in Brazil too, right? Like it didn't just leave there. Okay.
No, without a doubt.
Well, very, very, very cool. That's awesome. Like it's amazing to talk to someone like you who is driven to not only better yourself in what you're learning and what you're doing, but to then reach out to the community and then teach the community all of that as well. Mm-hmm. And we thank you so much for being our first guest ever on our Fueled by Death cast.
Yeah, what's the name of it?
Yeah, Fueled by Death cast. I'm just floored. It was that's a lot of inspiration right there. It's really cool.
One quick thing before we wrap this up. How's it feel like? I know you headed off a lot of the push for regulation of mixed martial arts in New York, and now it's here. It's in Albany this weekend. It's really happening.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? I remember going to the Times Union Center. And there was a few fighters there just kind of trying to promote the regulation, and it's a real thing now. How do you feel about it overall?
I would feel better when it's actually a real thing.
I kind of got that feeling.
What do you
from
mean by
your
that?
initial
I mean,
talk,
it's
yeah.
like the UFC's here Friday, but it's been legal since September? Where are the other events?
Yeah.
So-
So you think it's all the
The regulations have made it impossible.
yeah, just the
They made it worse.
shame.
They've actually made it tougher for wrestling, boxing, and everything else too, because they made a combat sports law. So they didn't just make an MMA law; they made combat sports. So they looped everything in with that. So it's made it tough for everything. But so I mean, it's legal, but you know, the sports died in the area because of it being illegal for so long. The sports died in terms of fighters and athletes that are from here because they have nowhere to compete.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So you know, I'm happy. I'm going to go.
yeah.
It's exciting, but I mean, and we'll see what happens from here. But I'm not too happy until I see it being more of a possibility to have events and stuff. So
What do you think it'll take to change that?
storm the Capitol. I don't know. I have no idea. I really think it's just going to be. I think now people are starting to realize it. So I think the more promoters start to get a handle on what this law actually is,
Yeah.
I think people are going to start pressing to have it amended a little bit. Because at this point, it's impossible.
Yeah, that's rough.
It's impossible unless you have major capital like the UFC.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's almost no fair because I feel like the reason why New York kept MMA out for so long was directly tied to the UFC. If for those who aren't informed about it, it was the restaurants union,
Culinary Arts Union.
Right.
the Culinary
Yeah,
Arts
corruption.
Union that was holding back MMA because they were directly tied to the owners of the UFC
Right.
who own casinos and
Well, they were directly tied to politicians
yeah.
in New York State, and the Fertitta brothers didn't use the Culinary Arts Union in Vegas, so as a spite to them, they threatened to pull their financial backing from politicians locally. So, so they voted the bill down. And
But
Sheldon Silver, who's in jail now, so
Yeah.
that worked out well for him.
The irony of the thing is,
Yeah.
though, now that it's legal in New York, the only one that can afford it is the UFC.
Is the UFC.
It seems
So,
so weird.
I don't know.
I'm sorry to hear that, but
I am too.
I expect things to
There's a
turn
lot of
around.
red
I mean,
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will as more people find out.
Well, and like I said, I mean, you're doing something positive for this community by bringing awareness to it and making your events. And, you know, again, hopeful that all of this that you have planned for next year works out the way that you want. And that's going
thank
to
you.
bring much more of a awareness to this. And hopefully that actually helps, you know, fuel the actual, you know, laws and regulations.
fuel
to-
the revolution.
Yeah.
Right? Let's
fuel-
call it
yeah,
what it is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank
I really
you.
enjoyed
Appreciate
having
it.
you on, and I think we shed some light on some new things and really got some inspirational topics on. And thanks again for
Yeah, thanks a
coming
lot,
on,
Eddie.
man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.